Okay, so quickly to demonstrate how to switch out the Genesis 8 eyes for geometry that's been mapped to Unreal 4 eye materials. So you can make use of MetaHuman as well as the materials from the Paragon characters, or basically anything that makes use of the Unreal 4, or soon to be 5 eye material. So eye material being eye material. So what we need, of course, is an object that's mapped properly to it. Now, there's another saying in DCC in general for game design is that fix the problems in the asset. So if there's a problem, then it should be fixed in the asset, not try to fix it in the engine. And it creates problems, which I'm not going to get into. So the whole purpose of this is to really kind of get to the point. And the point here is go to www.daz3d.com, go to the community forums, and then go to Unreal discussion. And in this topic here, distribution community project, open source third person template for Daz 3D assets. There's a bunch of goodies in here that are used that can be used with Genesis 8 to make it more Unreal 4 compatible, so to speak. And the biggest issue, one of the bigger issues right now, of course, is the complexity of the eyes, and it really they kind of suck, as well as the amount of materials and textures that are required to support just the simple two blobs in the head is rather takes up a lot of the resources of the character itself that is best served other places, particularly with how the materials that are handled in Unreal 4 requires a single point source for as far as the geometry goes, and we apply the material to it, and boom, job done. So what you want here is you want this git here. You want the git for Epic Eyes geometry for Genesis 8.1. There's also a version in there for version 8 as well as 8.1, and you could probably easily make one for Genesis 3 if you wish, or whatever character that uses the eyeballs that you want to have mapped to the Unreal 4 material version. So I'm not going to explain Git. You can figure that out, but basically we're going to download the Git as a project to your hard drive, and once you get the Git, there's a practical reason for this course is as this project grows, you can keep everything in a nice little folder with all the little goodies and stuff that pertain to Genesis, whatever version of Genesis that you want. But for as far as the eye goes, you have an Unreal folder. This goes into your content into your project folder, so it makes it visible to the browser. Basically, it contains a material sample of the eye material that's available in Unreal 4, but you can just, as I mentioned, you can just harvest the eye material from MetaHuman or from Paragon if you want a much more, let's say, a much more efficient type of material, much more, let's say, much more. Oh, never mind. Carrying on. Eye material shader is an eye material shader. Let's just say that. So whatever it is that Epic supplies, you can make use of this because the geometry has been mapped to what it is required by Unreal 4. So we're going to copy that to our Unreal 4 folder, and of course then we have this geometry here, content. Now you just drag and drop this into your content library. So anything that's so whatever folder has content folder in it, you just drag content into it, and it places the appropriate folders under that structure. So we have anatomy, and then here we have objects as far as replacing the eyeballs in Daz Studio goes. We have one for Genesis 8, we have one for Genesis 1, 8, and one for 8.1, etc., etc., with a base material onto it. You can obviously, if you want to get fancy, you can add your own materials, but we're replacing the materials inside of Unreal 4 anyways. Now, avoiding any type of deviation here, there's some other cool stuff that can be done, but I'll leave that for the deep dive later on down the road. I just want to get through this as quick as possible. So, that brings us over to Daz Studio. Nope, not you. You go away. That brings us over to Daz Studio. And Daz Studio, I have a character here that's already modeled. This is This is Genesis 8 female with all the stuff attached to it. Now, I'm not going to, once again, I'm not going to deviate because there are rules that you have to set up to make sure this all goes over successfully. Otherwise, you get really weird, strange weighting, etc., once you bring it over to Unreal 4. But I have everything set up now the way I want it to, so it comes into Unreal 4 and everything behaves properly, and I'm not changing anything right now. I'm not messing around with that stuff. Okay, so we'll, once I get into a deep dive later on, I'm going to point out a lot of little cool stuff that you can do that makes your life easier to use this whole thing as a complete asset side character development system. But for our purposes, we want to change the eyeballs out so they're mapped to the Unreal 4 materials, eyeball materials. Okay, so as you see, Genesis 8 female anatomy, and there's my two eyeball objects. Now, as part of a unified framework, everything that's part of this character is actually an element as part of the total. So that means that that when we start combining stuff, everything kind of works as a part of the attached character. So if we start adding things like morph targets and reshaping and what have you, everything translates through the entire body, so we can create various different types of characters off the same framework. So if we add an injector where we have where our Genesis 8 model is an orc, then all the clothing that's been attached to it will conform, as well as the phoneme shapes or whatever it is that's implied as a part of the total part of this unified framework. Pretty slick stuff, eh? So one of the things that you can, since each of these is a component, an element within the studio, as if it was a component in Unreal 4 as a part of the character blueprint, we can start excluding stuff that we do not want to be part of our character here. So if we grab the Genesis 8, we can expand all, and then down here we can set up a search parameter for eye, and down here we have left eye and right eye, which is these two objects here. Now, if you obviously, anybody who's been playing with the eyes and has a complaint about the eyes knows the problems of the eyes is, first of all, it's predominantly poly-heavy, as well as too many sub-elements, as well as too many individual material IDs, which just boosts up the performance issues of this character in whole and in total. So we just want to basically hide those elements. Now, I have a rule table set up for FBX export that says anything that is not visible does not get exported. It's omitted. It's excluded from this as we export it. So if I export this out now, it's going to show up in Unreal 4 without eyes. So if I wanted to, I could add eyes as a component inside Unreal 4, but I like stuff to be attached that are configured within the application at the source level. It makes life so much easier. So since the eyes are managed basically like any other prop, the eyes are just, it could be hair, it could be a katana on the back, it could be a pair of boots that just can be added to the framework. So we'll just add our Genesis 8 female epic eyes to our framework here, and now, boom, we now have eyes that configure and are mapped to what is required by the eye shader in Unreal 4. Ta-da! Okay, so now that's basically it. That's all we require. We can go over to our Send to, and we can Des to Unreal 4. We can do this, that, and the other thing. You want to create rule sets and so forth. That's for another video. If you're getting, I can tell you from my side of the fence, this stuff works. It works fine. I just don't want to deviate because I don't want to start messing up my settings. That took a bit of a while to figure out how to set the rules up properly, so this gets fired out properly the way I want it to. Now I'm going to, okay, so we export this out. Just to kind of explain it, when we export the file is consolidated as an FBX. The clothing and everything is consolidated as part of a single skeletal system. And then it gives Unreal 4 a kick, and it says, hey, wake up, import this file, and then while it's processing the file, it creates a mirror of your asset in the same folder under Documents and DAS to Unreal 4 under Update, and that updates the geometry in that folder to configure to how that model is imported into Unreal 4. So you get all the IK bones and the root renaming and so forth. So you can take that and put it into Maya 3ds Max for animation or a motion builder, and you can add on all these fancy things and make a character talk, and it will respect the and then once you export the animation will be respected by the import of this as part of this character. Ta-da! Okay, a really nice rotation of your pipeline. Okay, so that's done this. I'm going to shut this down because it sucks up performance, makes it hard to maneuver in Unreal 4. So we'll go over to Unreal 4, and I imported our character model already, so it's pre-cooked. I have a version in here that I've been messing around with. It looks pretty but ugly. It's a little bit out of date as far as material goes. This is an older version, let's say. This is how things get imported now in 2.6 with the update. This is an old version done in 2.5, and then of course I just updated the and then this just didn't work out too well. But this is how it gets imported in. We have some missing material stuff here which can be corrected, but we now have our eyeballs that are mapped to Unreal 4 material requirements for the eye materials. Versus our little eye over here, which is, of course, these are the original Genesis 8. Didn't really turn out too good. I should have just made a new version, I guess, import it into 2.6. But near here, near there, we now bring our character over. And if you look in the dialog box here, I have the eye set up. Now I have a left eye and a right eye. I've been messing around with it, and but we have individual mapping. We want individual mapping because you might want to do variations of the eye, green eye versus a blue eye, or do a last action hero thing where the bad guy has a crosshair on his eyes, or you can have various different types of assets that are pertaining to the eye. The thing is the course is we have a standardized asset here, a resource, and that it's mapped to what the Unreal 4 eye material wants. So we can use MetaHuman, we can use the eyes from the Paragon characters, because it's an eye material, it's an eye material. Skin material is a skin material. So all we just have to do is change the image files that are corresponding to that to the appropriate type of result that we want. So in this case, if we want to change the face skin, use MetaHuman skin for our character model here and replace the whatever it is that we created as part of the import. That's easy enough. We just change the images that are part of the materials because it's all brought in as instant materials anyways. So it's just a matter of drag and drop and change this and change that, and boom. We want a little bit more metallic feel to the mask here. That's simple enough. We just use the MetaHuman a MetaHuman metal material. We can pump this stuff up and down. We can also do it in DAZ 3D. I'm just not too sure how the updates and modifications are transformed, but stuff gets baked down. Once again, we're going to leave that for the deep dive. But okay, so we don't need this anymore. I'm just going to use this to demonstrate what the default looks like, and we can go over here and select our character in our persona view here, and we're going to go over and down here I have a MetaHuman folder. Okay, so that's I. It's going to UIE, and I want material instance. Now that's the cool thing about instances, of course, is you just have to change the materials that are involved with it. And eye material, this is a MetaHuman eye. So we're going to toss that on. I'm going to grab this here, next one beside it. Come on, there you go. And that should update in our screen here. And ta-da! Pretty good. Okay. I wonder if I could just set the settings here to engine scaling. Let's try cinematic. Yeah, it's a little bit better, isn't it? It's not as aliasy. So that's a metahuman eyeball. Okay, so I think I got a Paragon eye here too as well. Material. Okay, this down here is Paragon. So I got a nice from Sparrow. So let's see if we can replace. Sparrow's got some nice green eyes, I think. There you go. Okay, so in another project file, I have a pretty big bunch of eyeballs with different colorations and so forth. That can just simply be more or less drag and drop. Here's brown, but you can see how we can just change the color of individual eyes. Has some interesting possibilities. Okay, so that's how you map out at the source level. Change the Genesis 8 eyeballs to Unreal 4 eyeballs at the source level. And keeping that in mind, you can do that basically with anything that's part of this framework, because these are just this is just geometry. It's you know, they're individual components that make up a complete character that you can manipulate in so many different ways. That's the advantage of DAZ Studio. Say, well, I don't know how MetaHuman is actually going to work because their application is still under alpha. So, but you know, here's a good option. Okay, thanks for listening. Hopefully this isn't too long. I'd like to do some more in-depth stuff because I've only brushed on the iceberg here as far as how robust this whole system is. To give you some idea, I started basically using DAZ Studio when it was probably when it was first called Notepad. Actually, when it was first called Poser. And of course, I got on a bandwagon for Unreal 4 almost from the beginning. So you know, DAZ Studio has been something that I've enjoyed as simply from playing with something standpoint. And now it's so simple to make. It is so simple to make high-end AAA assets that you know, it's about doing the work and not necessarily having to have a deep level of experience. You know, this is stuff that you can be successful as you iterate. Okay, enough. Hopefully this isn't too much longer than I hope it would have been.